Amazing. We are live. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Alexi. Super nice to have this opportunity to connect with you. I try to support builders in our ecosystem as much as possible, but sometimes I don't have the capacity to just cover everything, of course, with the level of details that I would like. So I'm very excited about what you are going to be sharing today. We're going to talk about DeFi, SparkDEX, of course, decentralization and governance. I think these are interesting times to talk about it, especially with everything that went down with Aave. But perhaps we should start with some broader context, Alexi. So, how are you doing today? First of all.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Victor. Great. And thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here. Excited to chat with you. Excited to get the community up to date and share this exciting announcement. Doing good from my side. Just for those that don't know, I'm one of the co-founders at SparkDEX. One of the other co-founders is Steve. Steve handles more of the dev side of things. I handle more of the BD, the business development side, and managing the everyday teams and the marketing stuff, etc. So great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for providing that context. SparkDEX has been around for a while now, and I've seen the grow the platform and how you guys build all of these functionalities is really like a super modern Dex, I would say. Steve, personally, I think he's a great developer, super experienced. You can tell that. And I was
Absolutely.
wondering, yeah, I was wondering where are you guys at in terms of this phase of growth and how this actually connects with your story and trajectory on DeFi, right? Because typically, people who are running DeFi protocols are people that have been in the space for a while, right? So I think that we can learn more about that aspect of you as well.
Yeah. So I've definitely been in Web3 since the early days. It's been exciting and a somewhat stressful journey as its ups and downs. I was back interacting with DeFi in the early days, back when Aave, as you mentioned, it was called ETHLend in the early days. There was Curve, there was Uniswap, just essentially trading a pair of, literally a pair of socks on the decks, and that's kind of how it started. So it was exciting. Back then, personally, bit of mastery. I was actually a commodities trader, so mainly trading gold, silver, all the big ones, and some other stuff as well. A bit of oil, a bit of wheat. And when I actually saw, DeFi really taking off, and this is when the ETHLend kind of first came out, it really, really clicked for me. And essentially, I think it was no joke, within a span of a week, absolutely stopped trading commodities and went all in into Web3 back then, which was pretty crazy. Very volatile, very emotional, but fun. And, it was definitely a journey, a learning experience. Back then as well, one of the things we're obviously going to talk about on this call is DAO governance. And this is when that experiment in the early days really started to kind of take off. Back then, it was a hell of a lot messy than what it is now. And I think we can still see that there's still a lot of growing pains. There's still a lot of different ways of handling governance and these topics. Where is the line drawn between the team, the founders? How much input do they have compared to the community? Literally back then it was essentially just a bunch of guys arguing on Discord. That was the main place that most of the discussions and governance happened. It wasn't even Telegram, like some was in some kind of transition as well. But yeah, it was super exciting days back then. I'll definitely say that.
Yeah, I can imagine how things are evolving a lot. I remember there was a time in which people were like super bullish on DAOs in general, and people would really try and participate. And of course, there are a bunch of scandals around potential manipulation and prices of token going parabolic or dumping in regards to specific proposals. The usual crypto stuff, I would say. In the case of Flare, I do see a lot of our builders very concerned. Not really concerned. That's not the word. Really on top of things when it comes to maintaining decentralization in the work that they do and in Flare itself, right? Of course, to clarify for people that are watching this right now, which by the way, we are live on X, YouTube, on LinkedIn. So if you want to comment below and ask questions, feel free to do so. um what I was saying is that, you know, decentralization is a spectrum, right? It's not like you are either decentralized or centralized. There is a level to this. So let's just put a random number, like let's say one is fully centralized, fully controlled by one person or one entity, and 10 is like fully decentralized, right? Where do you see SparkDEX currently at this spectrum, and where you would like to be? Like, let's say for now, SparkDEX is a 5, I don't know, whatever, and then you want to progress up to a scale of 8 out of 10, right? I'm curious to learn your thought process behind decentralization and all that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and thanks for asking that. Uh, so look, like you mentioned, there definitely is a spectrum. I think either side of that spectrum has its pros and cons. Where I would personally say that SparkDEX is at the moment is I think we're definitely more towards the centralized part right now. So depending on the scale, if 1 to 10, 10 being more centralized, I would think we're maybe at around about an 8 or something, right? And what I mean by that is that we're obviously still a new protocol, and I think at the start of any protocol, you need some kind of level of stewardship, right? You need the team to kind of guide the protocol along this journey, and slowly, hopefully now we're at the point where we can start to really give the community more of a voice. So today goes live our first governance vote, and that's us now kind of going over some of the decisions that we as a team made, hopefully for the best of the community and for the best of the protocol, and now giving those reins over to the community and really having broader discussions. The reason I say an 8 and not a 10 is because I'd like to think that up until now, we've still kind of been listening to the community, right? We've got our Telegram, we've got some really vocal members in there, which is fantastic. We love to hear from them, we love to learn from them. I'm sure we've made quite a few mistakes along the way, just like any protocol, just like any company does. And what I would essentially like to see us transition to is hopefully a 1 out of 10. With that said, I don't know if a 1 out of 10 necessarily makes sense as well. There can be, and this is where we need to have that broader discussion with the community.
Right.
There's some cons that go if we're too decentralized. Maybe decisions start taking really long times to implement. Maybe us as a protocol, it takes us a while to pivot and to migrate to some kind of new strategy. Is that going to allow us to react to things in the market in time? So these are all things that need to happen with discussions that need to happen with the broader community. The point being is, let's say we're an 8 out of 10 now. Hopefully we start migrating, 7, 6, 5 over time. What I'd love us to see is we're going to be introducing a series of different governance proposals where we'll be going over some of those decisions where we made as a team. So the first one that's out live today is essentially how we should break down the revenue that the protocol is acquiring. Right now, we essentially have it between 50%. We use that revenue to buy back tokens and burn them. 50% goes to stakers. There's a range of different options when you go and pick out the governance proposal. And that's for the community now to decide, okay, what's the breakdown of that split? And then we'll be introducing some other discussions shortly with some other decisions that we've made. So hopefully that answers your questions.
It does, and it's great because now we can transition into perhaps the main point of conversation, which is the SparkDEX proposal. So we're gonna be talking about how to split the revenue. This is a big deal, right? Meaning that if you really want to see a protocol succeed, um, your participation in this kind of thing can be crucial, right? It's not like just a minor thing. I just want to clarify that. So perhaps, Alexi, if we can transition into this, it would be nice if you can share your screen and walk us through the different
Sure.
points of the proposal. Because I think we can also comment a little bit on the side of the tokenomics of the token and how everything ties together, because at Flare we also have a lot of exciting things taking place now. as you know, with the new FAP. So I think this is, it's a great timing
You
to
guys have had
discuss
some
all of
great,
this.
great discussions and votes as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Let's do it.
So cool. So for those that want to find this governance page, essentially just navigate to the stake tab here, click on that, and obviously then just navigate down to governance, and you shall find the proposal up for vote right now. Okay, cool. And every time I come to the page, more people are voting. I love it. This is what we want to see. So look, what we essentially have here is just a breakdown of the vote. What I mentioned before, long story short, is really we're essentially handing over the decision for how the revenue breakdown will occur. So what we currently have is option D, which is 50%. We're buying back the Spark token and burning it. 50% we're passing on to stakers. So you have from four main options, 75% buyback and burn, 25% to stakers, 100% burn, 100% stakers. So these are the main options that we have here, or you can essentially do abstain as well. And it looks like by far option B, which is 100% buyback and burn, is winning. So
And
this
this
vote
is
will
like
be running. Yeah, so go ahead.
yeah, this is like the most popular thing to do this day. Am I correct?
I think you are. I think you are. Look, I'm a big fan of buyback and burns as well. I personally lean, and look, this is just my own preference, guys. I'm not saying to vote anyway. You guys do what you want. I personally lean to a mixture of the two, depending on the current market situation. Yeah, maybe sometimes you do more buyback and burns. I love rewarding stakers as well, because I feel like stakers are, it tends to be people that more participate in the project. They come, hopefully, they're coming and they're checking up on the protocol, once a week, once a month, claiming, the interest of the yield that they're earning, right? So I feel like they definitely need to be rewarded as well. Whereas buyback and burn rewards everybody proportionally, even those that maybe just buy aren't very active, and they're still obviously extremely important. But yeah, so this seems to be the big thing, and it seems to be winning by a
It's
landslide.
it's quite a margin that it has right now. But just perhaps we should go over these alternatives one more time and explain what are like the pros and cons that you particularly see in each one of these, so that people that are, just wrapping their heads around this topic, they at least have some input, right? Obviously, as part of decentralization here, anyone can do whatever they want. I guess that there is some sort of weight in regards to the amount of tokens that you have, right? So perhaps we should
Which
cover
brings
that
up an
as well.
interesting point as well. How decentralized are protocols that, and this was a bit of a tangent. How decentralized are protocols that, perhaps they have a founder that owns 10, 20% of the supply, and maybe the community only has 5%, and anything that they vote for. And I mean, does the founder have a right to vote? I think these are discussions that need to be had with the community. But yeah, it's definitely interesting stuff. So option A here is distribute 75% to buyback and burn. So 75% of the revenue will be spent to acquire the Spark token, buy that up, and essentially burn that, and 25% to Spark stakers. I think this is a great balancing act. Option B.
Wait. Let me just pause there. Sorry, it's just I have questions as we walk
Sorry,
through this.
go for it.
Like, question would be, what are the Spark stakers getting right now in terms of
Okay.
benefits?
Yeah, so currently the revenue is split 50% buyback Spark token and burn, and 50% we're buying back ST Flare and providing that to Spark stakers. They currently also get through emissions, so which is inflationary. They're getting some additional rewards of 130,000 Spark a week. That will, regardless of any option that's voted for here, will be reduced to 120,000, and over time that will essentially trend towards zero, so that we reduce inflation, and hopefully the protocol should be transitioning to being 100% sustainable off revenue. So that's currently what's being given out. So any one of these options, so even if option B, which is 100% buyback and burn, is voted on, Stakers will still receive those 125,000 Spark tokens weekly. So they'll still be getting incentivized to stake and to participate that way.
Interesting. And okay, I'm thinking about this because you mentioned the Spark token right now, just like Flare, the goal would be to make it like control obviously the inflation, right? And make it zero or deflationary even if possible, right?
Inflationary would be nice. Yeah, that would be the ultimate goal.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, is
I
that
think
this
it's
is not a
very
promise.
important that we sustain stakers or depending what happens in the future, any Spark community members that are participating that own the token, they need to be rewarded and it needs to be sustained of pure, obviously, revenue. We can't be relying on inflation or anything like that, or any kind of Ponzi-nomics or anything like that. The ultimate goal would be, let's reward those that participate through pure revenue. And ideally, it'd be great to obviously get to a deflationary state. Not there yet, but hopefully.
No, man, I mean, these things take time. I think that people in the Flare community, we do have quite a lot of smart people running numbers with an analytic mind, so they understand the game, right? That we are in the sense of like all of this depends on how well we do as an ecosystem and our growth and our TVL and all that, right? And things so far are looking good. Can you actually do you have at off the top of your head some of the numbers of SparkDEX? Because I've seen some very impressive stats in the past, but I don't know like the correct numbers right now in terms of like
Not off the
volume
top
and
of
all
my
that.
head. I should have actually come
Okay,
prepared with
we
that.
have the
But we can
analytics.
see here there is a dashboard where we show Sun tokenomic metrics here. So we can see here total burned. This is the total supply, circulating supply. Inflation at the moment is very low. So out of circulating supply, we've burned essentially 1/5, slightly over 20%.
Gotcha. And in the current model that you guys have, the burned amount like mostly depends on protocol usage, I would imagine, or what?
Correct. Yes, the burn rate right now is mainly off current revenue, buying back the token and burning that. There are some other ways the tokens do get burnt. For example, if you stake the Spark token, you're normally locked for 15 days. So if you want to withdraw, you can initiate. You've got to wait 15 days essentially to withdraw your token. However, if you want, you can withdraw earlier for a slight penalty, depending how fast you want to withdraw. Instantly, you'll pay 50% penalty. If you want to withdraw, in 7 days instead of 15, you'll pay 25% penalty. Those tokens are also burnt. So there are some other mechanics.
Understood. Understood. And for what I can read here, casting your vote probably is like pretty straightforward. You just need to have the Spark token, go there, click, and select the
Right.
alternative
So
that you would prefer.
to be able to vote, you essentially need to hold XSpark, which is stake Spark. When you've staked your Spark and you receive a receipt token XSpark, that's what will be used as your voting power. One staked Spark equals one XSpark. Really straightforward and simple there. With your XSpark, then you can essentially allocate that to earn staking rewards. Whether it's allocated or not allocated, you have voting power.
Gotcha.
And you can
Okay.
go to that by essentially just navigating to the XSpark tab here from stake. And here you'll see any XSpark you have. My wallet's not connected or anything. Any Spark you have, you can allocate there and receive XSpark in return.
Okay, but and with XSpark, just to clarify, the utility, what are all the things that I can do?
With XSpark, pretty much all you can do for now is allocate your XSpark and then you will receive staking rewards, which
Right.
currently 16.5% staking rewards. That's all you can do for now. However, of course, in the future, we'll be looking to bring other utilities and benefits with XSpark as well.
Well, what are your thoughts? Like, I know probably you cannot share too much, but like just at a general level, high level.
When it comes to utilities for XSpark,
Yeah.
so I think in the future, and again, look, these are just thoughts, guys. No promises or anything here. We need to jump into
Yeah,
more detail with Steve. It would be really cool to see it getting utilized as potentially collateral in certain
right.
lending markets. Perhaps using it as collateral. Sorry. One other thing we actually do offer is you get trading discounts for the perpetuals. So it would be great if we could offer different trading discounts even for the spot exchange, right? So similar to what Binance and some of the centralized exchanges do, right? If you hold the BNB token, you get discounts, trading fee discounts, whether it's perps, spot. So bringing more utilities like that, using as collateral in lending markets would be fantastic. The 15-day withdrawal, it may be hard to do that. So there may be some other components when it comes to XSpark that need to be uh, changed to allow that, or it'd have to be a very, very low LTV where an instant withdrawal so someone can kind of liquidate you. It would make sense, but then how useful is it is another discussion. So yeah, just kind of seeing what we can do there around the different trading discounts. There's certain stuff when it comes to the new V4 decks that we have, where with hooks you can build out quite a few cool different utilities, like where you can offer those trading discounts and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, hopefully there'll be some other votes and some other updates coming out soon around that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Like you said, like this is early. This is just a matter of like discussing things and know what are the things that are on your mind, right? As a founder, I'm always curious about that, and I do see that people are voting more and more. We have still 0% in option C, I think.
Oh, good.
Um,
So
why though? Like, I want to kind of see if we can play the devil's advocate here and try to make a case in which you would be interested in alternative C, distribute 100% to Spark Staker.
yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, honestly, as well. Like, I could understand a lot more people voting for the if maybe staking rewards were lower, but when you got 16.5% APR for staking rewards, like that's quite that is quite high. Where I'm trying to think with like a selfish, greedy hat, right? If you voted for stakers, not everyone is participating and staking their Spark. So that's benefiting those that are just more active, rather to those that are holding Spark and not staking it, not paying attention. The buyback and burn benefits everyone. Or maybe everyone here is a much nicer person than me, and they're happy for everyone to be rewarded.
Yeah,
It's
100%. So, in terms of like the timeline here, I see that we just started with the boat, right? So, it's early, and
4 more days to
it's
go. Yep.
4 more days to go. Okay, and then the implementation part, how would that look like?
How long will it take to implement? It should be fairly
Yeah.
quick, I'd say, hopefully within the week. So 4 days is the 17th. That's Sunday. So I imagine next week sometime this would be implemented. Monday, Tuesday, probably.
Gotcha. Um, distribute 100% to BBB. Okay, so it's like assuming that this is going to stay this way, we would see option B to be the preferred one by the community. What would be like the most immediate consequences or things that people should be paying attention to, assuming this is, the end result?
Look, so if that happens, then when it comes to the yield that's given for XSpark stakers, we will essentially lose the ST Flare uh, rewards. So this has got essentially 6 more days of rewards. So say Tuesday, Wednesday next week, ST Flare won't be replenished. So you're looking at slightly under a 50% drop in terms of the APR. Say about a 50% drop because the 130,000 weekly Spark rewards will drop to 120,000. So we're looking at possibly staking rewards of maybe 8.5, 80% next week. So they will be dropped. But you would have then consequently more buyback pressure on the Spark token, and those would be removed from circulation. So gone forever, being burnt.
Right. So this, if I'm understanding this correctly, like purely from a game theory perspective, it's like you're having people that are willing to take less rewards from the APR and sacrifice SFLR really in order to get more buybacks, and I guess with that try to increase the potential value of the Spark token. Am I right on this?
Yes, no, you're spot on. That's correct. Yeah. So we'll start to
Mm,
see this chart hopefully up and to the right a bit more. Be nice.
right, right. Because the burn rate would increase.
Increase. Yeah.
Interesting. Gotcha.
Yeah, you're definitely right. That seems to be all the rage, the buyback and burns. Which, hey, look, I think that's fantastic. If we can get inflation down, get those tokens removed out of circulation, I mean, that's a great thing. I won't be complaining.
Yeah, I mean, it would sound like reasonable also to consider option A to distribute the majority for buybacks, but they still have some for stakers, which is
This is
interesting.
personally, that's what I would vote for. I like this one the most. So option A, like, yeah, cool. Let's keep the buyback and burns going. Let's still give a bit to the stakers as well. But hey, that's the point of the vote. Let the community speak.
I mean, yeah, that's the point of decentralization, right? And just to, again, to go back to this point of how the weighting works for this voting round would be like the more tokens I have, the more
The
power I
voice,
have on the vote, right? Okay,
correct.
okay, I understand that. Interesting.
Which is
Well,
interesting. I mean, that brings into there's a lot of different ways that people have tried out governance. I'm trying to remember the name of the protocol, and I can't. But there are some other protocols that do like the V kind of tokenomics, right? Like Chi DAO was. I can't say it was a large DAO back in the day, but it was an interesting one. I participated heavily in that. It was really interesting, and that was like an early had a stablecoin called Mai
right,
back in the day. It's going back a few years. One of the early ones there, very similar to DAI, 100% decentralized. And you could lock your tokens ranging from 1 day to 4 years. And the longer you lock them, the more voting power you had. I also remember there were some heavy discussions about um, also allocating more voting power among those that participated more into with the protocol. So a big issue, like, okay, how do you measure that? Though? How do you measure the value of somebody participating in the protocol? When it came to like allocating their votes, or how do you measure somebody that's active in the community? So they were pretty hard. And there's also the question as well that is something that I always come back to, and I think it's a fine line. Is team members? They obviously need to be incentivized. Maybe I'm speaking here from just being selfish. But they need to be incentivized to work hard on the protocol. They're obviously giving up a lot of their time, effort. Where's the fine line between, okay, how much are they incentivized? How many tokens do they get? And are they allowed to vote with the full weight of their tokens, depending on how they're investing? Now, look, if their tokens are locked up for a long period of time, 4 years, 3 years plus, if they're investing linearly, depending on what the circulating supply that the community have as well. If it's not something that is going to largely sway or push any vote that happens in one direction, I think then it's fine. If, let's
right.
say, I had 10% of the token supply, and the community only had 2%, in any way that I was to vote, well, is that decentralized? Is that fair? Is that appropriate? I would obviously say no.
Right.
It also depends on what you're voting as well, right? Something that kind of benefits the team. I think the only moral and ethical thing they have to do is they obviously abstain. You can't allow them to vote. All interesting stuff. I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent. I love talking about it.
No, but it's interesting to understand like governance on DeFi because, you know, a lot of these protocols, including SparkDEX, they handle quite a lot of money, right? You might say, well, it's not that big or whatever. Like, bottom line, it is. If you think about a couple of years
Hey,
ago,
I'm not rich.
all of
It's
these.
it's a lot of
No, no,
money
no.
to me.
No, but I'm talking about like the entire ecosystem that has like truly decentralized DeFi protocols, and they have this access to governance, and people can do lots of cool, interesting things, right? And what we have seen is that it can be actually very damaging in some cases. I think that I don't know the details of the Aave situation, but in any case, from the public point of view, it doesn't look good the way it was handled, right? At least in public, right? Perhaps what they did, the separation and everything was for the best or whatnot. I'm not, a person that can have an informed opinion on that. But it's interesting to see how community actually can steer protocols into a very successful direction, or into something that can become a little bit more complicated. So the question actually for you, with all of these steps that you guys are taking for decentralization, is there any potential concern about, it is you're a founder, right? So this is kind of your baby in a way. How are you dealing with this situation of a decentralized something that has, probably a high impact on your life?
It's tough, and I'll be honest and direct here. I don't have all the answers to this. It's something I literally walk around in circles inside my apartment all the time, thinking about like, look, how can we best manage this? What's the right thing? There needs to be a balancing act. Uh, I think it's something that we're going to keep learning along the way. All we can do for now is essentially listen to the community and implement as a team what we think is best, and just start putting things to votes. So I
Right.
generally don't have the answer. Like, look, what happened when it came to the Aave situation. I would definitely look, and I'm a big Aave fan. I love them. They're one of the first protocols that I was interacting with. I was in the community chats. I follow Stanny and the team. I definitely have my bones to pick with how they've handled, and not even just this situation. There are quite a few. And while I love Aave, and personally I hold a relatively large bag of the token, uh, would I say it's a super decentralized protocol? Eh, I don't know. They can really kind of swing the vote in any way that they want. In fairness, they bought a lot of those tokens themselves with their money. So that's where, like, you kind of get into some of these arguments. Say if they bought the
Right.
tokens, I think they have a right to vote. But then, yes, if you're kind of centralizing power, even if it's 100% fair, and they bought them on the open market, where do you kind of draw that fine line? And that's where I don't know. Um, in the recent situation as well that happened with them, I do want to give them some grace there in terms of, I mean, that was a lot of money, right? Hundreds of millions of dollars
Yeah.
with the recent hack that happened. I would be stressing out if, if there's a few $1 million if we got exploited for, right?
Right.
So let alone 300 million. Who knows exactly what was going on behind the scenes? With that said, they definitely could have improved communication. I had some funds in Aave as well that I was a bit worried about, and I was scrolling, checking their comms relatively often, and I was a bit disappointed to see that they didn't do the best job of communication there. But when it
Yeah.
comes to SparkDEX, hopefully, like those are things that me and Steve we see. Steve has been early in DeFi as well. Is one of the smartest devs that I know, and not even just when it comes to dev. He's fantastic at being able, and I think this is completely underrated. But he's fantastic at being able uh, to connect the business side of things with the development side of
Right.
things. Sometimes you have some devs that are just very,
Tech
code
oriented.
oriented. Yeah, they don't necessarily have the best social skills. Like, you see, kind of see some of the memes and jokes about devs. Steve isn't like that. He's able to really connect the business up. So he's a great partner to work with and to kind of bounce different thoughts and ideas off. So hopefully, yeah,
Mm.
we see some of these mistakes that happen with other protocols, and we can learn from them and implement some of the things that maybe they should have in the earlier days. So we've got some of the hindsight there. I'm sure we'll be making quite a few
Yeah.
mistakes ourselves. For
Yeah. I mean,
now, the kind of, yeah, go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say like it's fair. Like like nobody. This all of this is new. Like it is impossible for anyone to get all of this right. So my question would be, and you can finish your sentence first. But my next question was going to be around like what are the main things that you know for sure now about DeFi and governance that you know are like really strong must-haves and really like kind of red flags.
So I'll answer that first because I'll also finish off what I was saying
Mm,
before. Now, maybe not everyone will like what I have to say here, to be honest, but this is just what I've seen and what I honestly believe kind of works best. And this also depends on the scale of the project, how well funded is the project, etc. Who are some of their investors and backers? Uh, but I really think it's important that at the start of any project, you do need things to be more centralized. And hopefully you have that in the case of a fully docs team. I believe that's the right way to go. So that if something bad does happen, you can hold the team members accountable. Um, and you can hopefully see as well. Okay, they've got experience. They've done this before. They know what they're doing. You're not just trusting some random person online that has never operated or run a business before. I do think you need some level of centralization and stewardship at the start so that the team can build, react fast to situations, uh, and not always at the start listen to what the community has to say at the start, right?
right.
And the reason that I say that is that sometimes with the community, there can be a lot of noise, right? People have different opinions. And the reality is, depending who that person is, they don't always have the experience or professionalism of hopefully the team. Right? These may be people that are working in a completely different industry, right? I wouldn't go to my GP and tell the doctor, no, this is what you need to do. I've got no idea. That's not my area of professionalism. It's not my work. So I'm not going to argue with the doctor. And I think sometimes it's the same thing when it comes to some of these DeFi protocols that you
Yeah.
need things to be centralized at start so they can move fast. With that said, hopefully they're still listening and hearing what the community has to say, but you need to be able to react fast. And what I was saying before is that this is kind of how we've started off, and I think a lot of teams should have started off this way in the very early days when with the DAOs that were just kicking off. A lot of the protocols, I don't know, if you go back in time, 99% of these early DAO and protocols in Web3, unfortunately, they're all dead. And a lot of the reason that a lot of these protocols are dead is because they just moved so slow. Some didn't necessarily have the right funding and stuff, and there are other reasons, but a lot of them just move slow. And sometimes you do need to move a bit faster. And when you're trying to listen and keep your entire community happy, which is great. I love that. I'm happy. That's always a goal as well. But you can't always keep everybody happy, right? People are going to have
You
different
can.
thoughts. And if you spend too long debating and arguing back and forth, you end up just walking around in a circle and kind of getting nowhere. So at the start, we keep it a bit more centralized. We move a bit faster. And then we kind of shift to what SparkDEX is doing now. Whereas, okay, now that we're at a good place and we can kind of take a step back, let's start giving those powers back to the community. So we're starting off here with the vote about the revenue. This is essentially we decided how this revenue breakdown and split should be. We did what we thought was best. We kept it 50-50. We thought would be kind of be the fairest and touch on multiple points. Now it's okay. Let the community decide. We'll be going back over other decisions that we as a team made. Okay, let's let the community decide. And then in the future as well, there'll be votes as to okay, what hours and decisions should the team have that they can act on without necessarily taking it to a governance vote? It might be questions of, okay, how do we distribute farm rewards? Do we need to do a vote for this? Is this something that we give to the Spark token holders that they can vote where we're allocating Spark rewards? Do we allocate a third-party service provider that really specializes, like in Gauntlet or something that really specializes in how rewards should be allocated? Or does is the team able to unilaterally make that decision, right? So then you can go over different governance votes where you take or you give those powers to the team or some other trusted third party as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I think what you say is actually like it makes a lot of common sense to at least to me it sounds like yeah, completely reasonable, right? Um I have never seen any project that starts fully decentralized and they move fast and they're very successful. I have never seen that. I also have never seen.
Maybe because they all,
Uh,
yeah, unfortunately they all fail, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's true, and but I do think that we must define decentralization as one of our ultimate like core values. Mostly because otherwise we're just replicating the same things that we already have, right?
100%.
And we are seeing this battle already. I would argue, right?
Absolutely. Look, with everything that I've said, I want to make sure that we get one thing across as well. I am absolutely in favor of decentralization.
Right.
And I think, you know, I wish that more teams succeed in this ultimate goal and mission of ours. We need them to succeed. We need other teams to succeed so they can lift up those around them. And to be frank, look, it's also like a safety feature too, right? If a
Yeah.
team can look, like you mentioned, if a team can just kind of unilaterally make a decision, well, how's that different to anything we're seeing in TradFi, right? And then it's a safety thing as well. Like, okay, how much power does the team have? Like, yes, maybe contracts can be immutable and smart, and they can't be tampered with, but there can be peripheral things where the team members can maybe they can do something dodgy. They can do a rug pull to some degree, or if they can just make any decision, well, you as a token holder, not somebody that's necessarily interacting with the protocol, but you as a token holder, I mean, how much is that really worth to you? What rights do you have? And how are you getting your voice across?
Mm. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, and this is a call to action for the people. Like, if you are already here watching this interesting live stream with Alexis, who took the time, and the SparkDEX team taking the time to go over this proposal and offer this opportunity on, raise your concerns or your voice in terms of like how you want the revenue to be distributed. And one of the most important protocols that we have, a Flare, I would kindly invite you to take a look at it, participate and think. I'm seeing that more and more people are coming to vote. It's always a little bit of a pity to watch the level of participation. So I would say, as long as you're trying and as long as you have a few people trying as well, everything is gonna be fine. This is something that I've seen as well. Along my years here in the space. So, Alexi, one thing before we wrap it up, how does like the ideal scenario look like for SparkDEX in regards to this boat in the future with Flare and all that?
Yeah, that's a great one. Well, we don't know how it's going to turn out and exactly how it's going to look, and I think that goal potentially shift as well depending on the community's voice. So please, come join us on Telegram. Come join us on Discord. Please participate there. Make your voice heard. We always love to hear different recommendations. What you guys like to see, even if it's things as different features you guys want to see us integrate or bring or improve. Maybe we're doing something bad. Let us know, so we'll grow and learn. I think ultimately what I would like to see is essentially go over everything that the team has made those unilateral decisions on that we've just
Right.
decided, hey, look, we think this is the best thing to do. This is what we're going to do because we need to move fast. Go over all those decisions and then have them become decided by the community. So then they are truly decentralized. Another big thing and important thing for me, look, on one hand, it kind of sucks. We may potentially, as a team, lose some power here, but I also think that's a good thing, and that's
Yeah, of
the
course.
ethos that we kind of want to get across. Is essentially have some governance votes on the different powers the team has. What decisions can we as a team just go and make without needing to go to the community? But there will be some things that make sense, and that the team needs to have flexibility and powers on, and what can't we do? So that's what I'd like to see ultimately happen. I think it's going to be very interesting. And look, if there's anything else along the way as well, if we see any other teams or protocols implement something that works well, awesome. We'll love to see that. We'll learn from that. Or that they implement and it doesn't. That's just another learning experience. As we've said, it's early days, still growing, still learning.
Yes, it is. It is like I know that people hate this, but this is still like early days, right? And think all the growth that you guys have driven already, and the growth of Flare itself. Things are going well, I would argue, despite all the difficult market conditions. And I think that's something to appreciate. And another thing that I really want people appreciate again is like the fact that you're taking the time to do all of this work, because there is tremendous work behind all of this, and you could just say, what, we're going to do it this way. You're giving here the most important thing, in my opinion, to think about, which is revenue. um, People have a saying on that, which I think is great. So, Alexi,
Thank
I don't
you.
know if you have any final words or call to actions that you would like. I think you mentioned that one of the main spaces that you
Over.
have, go vote. That's for sure. You showed the site. It's already on the SparkDEX application. By the way, very smart move to not make users go in other places. Like very simple tab in the front end in the app. I think Steve has this amazing intuition. I don't know if he's behind all of this, by the way, in terms of like the UE UX. But it's like you guys have always put a lot of care into
They've
that, and
done
I
a
think
fantastic job with the UI UX. Yeah, incredible job. No, he definitely deserves all props there.
yeah, it's very easy to use SparkDEX in general. Okay, guys, so thank you so much. Let me just do a quick check up here, because I have to see if we have any pressing questions from the community. I see people are asking me when the token is going to go up. We cannot just share about any financial information, as you probably
No
know.
idea.
No, nobody knows, right? Also, okay, this is my final call to action for you guys, which is during the past few days and weeks, I would say, we have seen a bunch of new accounts trying to impersonate team members of Flare, team members of SparkDEX, Firelight, all the relevant protocols, and
In
possible,
Web3 in general,
yeah,
unfortunately, yeah.
yeah. But like, I think that Flare went viral a few days ago because there was just like too many. So obviously, guys, stay safe. Always go and visit the official site, the official links, and nothing else. And always like double check before signing anything, right? In this case, for voting, of course, you have to connect your wallet, and you need to have your tokens there with you, of course. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else you would like to add before we close this nice live
No,
stream?
look, that's everything. Just be safe, guys. With the scammers, it's unfortunately it's a big thing in this industry. So just make sure that you're double checking anything that you're connecting your wallet to. Never sharing your seed phrases. Just yeah, just stay safe out there, guys. Go vote. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it, Victor. And yeah, hopefully we have some better days ahead when it comes to the market. I know everyone wants to see things go up, but just stay
Yeah,
safe.
yeah, absolutely. But I think better days are ahead of us. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for the people that are watching,
Okay,
and
guys.
please go vote and participate. This is important. I will do my best as well, and I'll see you later, guys. Bye bye.